welcome to this very special event, a future called Documentation, International Exchange on Performing Arts Documentation. I'm your host tonight. My name is Bernice, and I'm from the International Association of Theatre Critics, Hong Kong. And you are going to listen, and you are going to have a very good chance to know more about ATI, because for this particular session, we are going to have the keynote speech to Understanding Czech Theatre, Arts and Theatre Institute ATI as a hub of documentation and meditation. It's really my honor to be able to host this very special speech with Ondřej SVOBODA. Ondřej, hello, nice to meet you and nice to see you again. And actually, I have to say, I met Ondřej in 2017 when I first visited ATI in Prague. And I was so impressive of what ATI have been doing for documenting Czech theatre, not only on things online, because they have a very great resources on the online database, but also on they're doing a lot of publications, and they have a great library, and also they have a lot of engaging activities to actually revitalize their great resources on Czech theatre. And it's really our pleasure to have Ondřej with us, although we are in a virtual platform, but still, I think we're going to learn a lot from the ATI. And I have to say, I really appreciate, I have to show the audience that I really have some great publications published by the ATI. This is their guide. And also, I love this magazine very much. Can everyone see it? This is a great magazine which allows me to know more about Czech theatre, although Ondřej just told me that they are going to have another direction of development about this magazine. So I'm looking forward to know more about it. And without further ado, I would like to have Ondřej share with us about ATI. And Ondřej, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you, Bernice, for this kind introduction. I will now share my screen. I hope everything is okay and you can see the presentation.
Yes, thank you.
So at the start, I would like to thank you for the invitation to this event and to thank all the organizers for preparation. I know how much time it took and how many unacceptable problems you had to solve. In fact, all of us are fighting with a very new situation, definitely not positive, but as I can see on the case of Bernice and her team, for many of us, it can also be a big challenge of searching for a new way for our work. So again, thank you for invitation and for organizing this amazing event. I'm sending greetings from the loft of the historical building in the center of Prague. Yeah, this is the building. I'm sitting in the loft of this building in a small office. And in my paper, I will tell you something about the Arts and Theatre Institute, its main activities, also out of theatre field, especially about our work during the COVID-19 restrictions. I will mention Prague Quadrennial, the world's biggest exhibition of stage design. Then I will focus on Theatre Institute, and I will describe our way of documentation of theatre performance in detail. In the end, I will also mention one different attitude to the theatre documentation and one very new private project, which is amazing. So you can see that there is a lot of topics which I would like to share with you, and to be able to keep the time limit, I had to write my paper, so I will read it now. I'm sorry, I know that it is not so comfortable for audience, but I think it is only one possibility how to keep the limit. I will mention many online sources, web pages and databases. All of them are linked from my presentation, which will be available for you, for all audience. So if you will have some questions in the future, don't hesitate to contact me. My email address is at the end of the presentation. So, our mission. We defined this mission several years ago, and it called us that our mission is to provide the Czech and international public with the comprehensive services in the field of theater and individual services relating to the arts, as a music, literature, dance, and the visual arts. We collect, process, and provide access to collectible materials relating to the theater. We conduct research and pursue education activities. We participate in international projects and publish specialized and scholarly literature. The ATI, we are, or it should be ATI as Bernice used the abbreviation, but we are used to use the ATI, so I will use ATI in my presentation. The ATI is a state contributory organization which was established by the Ministry of Culture of the Czech Republic. It was founded in 1959 as a theater institute. And since the middle of the 1970s, the institute has been based in the Baroque Mannhardt Palace on Seletná Street in downtown Prague. You could see the building in the previous slide. In 2007, the institute changed its name to the Arts and Theatre Institute. This was in connection to extending our activities to culture policy research, to the promotion of other kinds of art than just the theatre. So we can say that our institution has two separated but friendly and cooperative parts under one roof. The common roof consists not just of the leadership, but also of the public relations department, the marketing department, and department for international cooperation, which also cares for the non-governmental organizations as ITI, UNIMA, ACITES, and so on. So now something about the Arts Institute. Before I describe the Theatre Institute and its activities, mainly theatre documentation in detail, I would like to tell a few words about the Arts Institute which is dedicated to the foreign promotion of the arts and providing information, education, consultation, and research in this field. The Arts Institute encourages strategic approach to culture, and it supports and connects culture professionals and artists across different disciplines, while it also contributes to their professional growth on the national and international scenes. Arts Institute organizes activities, projects, and programs that reflect current needs in the contemporary arts and culture, thereby supports the advancement and status of the arts and culture in society. This is the difference, that Arts Institute is really focused on the present culture, present art, and its promotion, its some examples of its activities. You can see the slide. The Arts Institute Academy is the educational program that offers the culture managers each year intensive lectures and practical workshops which help them to develop the skills that they need to effectively manage a cultural organization as a strategic planning, marketing, leadership, fundraising, project management, creative thinking, and so on. The Arts Institute runs also creative residencies program, in which it coordinates and arranges residencies for artists from different fields and different countries, of course. In the research field, the Arts Institute focuses primarily on the culture policy. Its main research project was focused on mapping culture and creative industries in the Czech Republic. The Institute implements projects that are designed to promote Czech arts abroad and to foster international cooperation. Currently, the biggest project is the export-oriented music office called Soundcheck. The Institute runs an online portals and platforms that offer information on various cultures, subjects, and sectors. From this, you can see on the screen, I'd like to highlight the Arts Check, which is in English, and it is an online guide designed for international artists, organizers, art managers, general public, and also foreigners living in the Czech Republic. And I mentioned it, the Sound Check and Perform Check, which are portals which connects professionals working in theater, dance, news circus, or music scene. And these portals all are also in English. So this little bit replaced the magazine Czech Theater, which we published from 1990 until the last year. And also important for the time when mobility is possible is portal Czech Mobility Info, which is an informational portal aimed at professionals working in the cultural sectors who need to deal with the practical issues of engaging in international artistic cooperation, such as taxes, visas, insurance, and outer contracts. So it is this portal is bilingual. So now the step for the most famous event, the Prague Quadrennial of Performance, Design and Space, is the biggest festival of its kind in the world. Founded in 1967, the event is dedicated to exploring every element of performance space design, set design, costumes, lighting and sound, and so on. The 15th Prague Quadrennial will take place in 2023 in Prague. Here are some pictures from the last edition, PQ 2019. I choose photos displayed at the Hong Kong exhibits. The stand all-in-one Hong Kong theater phenomenology in the exhibition of countries and regions. And this is a student's exhibit named Desk. Along with the exhibition, Prague Quadrennial also works as a platform for international collaboration in artistic and educational projects, encouraging experimenting, networking, innovation, and future collaborations. For describing all the activities, events, educational programs, international collaboration, and projects which will take place under the leadership or with the participation of Prague Quadrennials, we would need a separate presentation. So if you want to know more, just visit its page. I have some more pictures from last edition. This is a picture from a curated exhibition called Fragments, which was installed among the historical sculptures in a space which belongs to National Museum. This is a view to one of the main exhibition halls. And this was one of hundreds of side events or accompanying events, very special form of dance called a vertical dance. Yeah, and this is an invitation for you for the PQ website, where is everything. For us, for now, it is important that all the issues of PQ were properly documented. The documentation is available online until the year 2015, but in the old and unsuitable system. Its transformation to the proper system is now on the process. So from next year, we will have a new system for PQ documentation, which will be online. So now let me do a step to the very different topic, but very contemporary, unfortunately. I would like to say something about our activities during the COVID-19 pandemic. As the situation is still serious, I would like to share in short our experience and activities in connection to the COVID restrictions. In spring, when the first wave of pandemic broke out in Europe, we quickly started with the first mapping of the impact of the restrictions to the culture sector. The results of this quick research were published on 16th March and its publication was done via a special new newsletter called Culture in Quarantine. 11 editions of this newsletter were published in Czech and in English. The last one, that time we hoped it was last, was published at the start of July. The newsletter consisted of the actual information about the COVID measures, about possibilities of government support for artists and the technical staff, about new and innovative attitudes in performing arts, and last but not least, with the good practices from abroad. The big research of the COVID impact to the culture sector was realized by ATI together with the Department of Production of Drama Faculty and the Department of Culture Management of the University of Economics in Prague. It was complex research realized by online questionnaires separated according to the type of arts, performing arts, music sector, fine arts, including galleries and museums, and according to the type of subject, with physical persons, non-profit organization, business bodies. It was run from March and the information was collected in monthly periods until the summer. The first output of this research were commented by researchers in the first edition of the podcast titled Shuffler, which means prompter. In the next edition of podcast, the podcast will evolve the topics from the Culture in Quarantine newsletter because it's still very actual. I'm sorry, this podcast is just in Czech. The other activity which was prepared in connection to COVID was focused on video recording of the theater performance, of course. When theater were closed in the start of March, many of them started to stream their archive recordings to of their performances. And the quality of these recordings was often very poor. My colleagues prepared a series of Zoom webinars titled How to Show Performing Arts Online. The audience of webinars could participate in the moderated roundtable discussions with the experts and professionals. Webinars were separated in 4 parts, plus 2 more at the end. They were methodology of the complete recording of the theater performance, the cutting of theater performance recording, the dramaturgy of recording of theater performance, and the 4th was the author law aspects in recordings of performance. The series was expanded of 2 more webinars, how to do subtitles for a theater performance, where the translators and interpreters of theater performances discussed the topic, and how to document and archive theater performances in recordings, which was also a platform for our experience. We also did some experience with an online exhibition that was originally planned as a live exhibition for foreign audience, but we had to prepare it as online. For the 100th anniversary of the stage designer SVOBODA. I just have to mention that we are not relatives. We have the same family name, but it's a very common family name here in Czech Republic. It means freedom. 6 short videos and text description of 32 selected performances in Czech and English are used there. The exhibition will be available online just until the 10th of January 2021. So if you are interested in, please don't wait to visit it. During the peak of the second wave of COVID at the 21st of November, one of the most popular global theatrical events, the Theatre Night, took place. This global event is in the Czech Republic, coordinated by us, by ATI, and of course it always used to be a good occasion to welcome people who normally didn't visit our spaces. These pictures are from the previous editions of the Theatre Nights. We have quizzes, short lectures and presentation for adults, some kind of adventure games and workshop for children and so on. In the normal condition, the theaters open their spaces for the public during the theater nights and prepare special programs. People can see the backstage and other technical spaces, can meet actors and try their work and enjoy many other unusual activities. The theater makers usually give a lot of invention into it. Sorry. Never mind. It was there was a picture. It's pity that you can see it because as the theaters are closed and people cannot meet in groups, my colleagues responsible for the organization of the whole event create an online live stream from ATI. They created a studio, which was in the picture, which unfortunately didn't load, and they ran an 8-hour non-stop moderated program with the online connections to the theaters with pre-recorded or online live programs as a discussion, short performances, information, interviews, and so on. The online event was very successful, but the regret for the absence of the normal theater operation was present all the time. As one message which we got from a theater said, we are happy for the 1,000 online spectators, but we would prefer to have 3 of them in our audience. So finally, I can step forward and describe the Theatre Institute and its activities in detail. This is our credo or mission, which we created during the workshop focused on brand building. It was one of the workshops organized by Arts Institute. The Theatre Institute is the only institution in the Czech Republic that, with love and professionalism, studies and records, preserves and provides access to information on the theatre to anyone interested in learning about its history and its presence. We are the memory of Czech theatre. Once a work for the stage has its final performance, it is gone. So, for the start, I just mentioned all Theatre Institute departments and their mission, and then I will focus deeper on the theatre documentation. The Theatre Institute consists of 6 departments. The library collects, processes, preserves, and provides access to the theatre literature and periodicals and to the selected international literature on theatre. The library contains 120,000 items, comprising special theatre literature, theatre plays, literature-related literature in related fields, and the periodicals, of course. The bibliography department administers an electronic database and a card catalog with the references to articles on Czech theatre dating from 1851 up to the present day. There are more than 720,000 entries in the department's bibliography collections. The publishing department is the center of our publishing activities. It publishes original and translated works in the fields of theatre history, theory, criticism, and it also collaborates on publishing projects with other departments. I forgot to mention the theatre plays, of course. The Czech Theatre Studies Department is a research center that conducts research on the history of theatre in the Czech Republic from Middle Ages up to the present, and in relation to the wider context of European theatre history. Its main output, except for books and articles in magazines, is the online Czech Theatre Encyclopedia. Collections and Archive Department collects, preserves, and presents objects and archival materials connected to Czech theatre. It processes a large collection of stage design and theatre photography and posters, which are then digitized so they are accessible to the public. And finally, Documentation Department collects and facilitates access to information on the theatre work of professional Czech theatres and companies that have existed since 1945. It archives theatre programs, print materials, newspaper clippings, and presents information on current events in the field of theatre. In this department, most of the database records about the theatre activity are done. Materials are sorted into different collections, and they can be accessed by researcher in the reading rooms of the ATI or online through the virtual study. I will tell more about the virtual study in a minute. Little bit small historical excursus. The documentation activities started together with the establishment of the Theatre Institute in 1959, and the structure which was set those days is still valid. The principle is basic: theatre production as the main entry. In the paper form, which was kept until 2010, the paper materials, as leaflets, press cuttings, invitations, posters, etc., were collected basically into the envelope dedicated to particular production, which was marked by numeric code. The orientation in the archive was done by the paper catalog, sorted according to the author's names. You can see it here. There were some supportive catalogs and lists as a list of premieres in theatres and so on. The bills of production are kept separately and bound in books for each theatre season. Also, photography and the photocopies of stage design on positives or slides were stored separately. Some picture which describe us how historical materials can be decorative. The import moment came in mid-19th when the first computer database for evidence of theatre production was launched. Its architecture was inspired by the structure of the previous practices with archiving paper materials. We have a different interface for administration and for the presentation of this database. Now you can see the administration interface, but all our data and digitized objects are available to the public in the online application Virtual Study. And I will use this for explanation of the structure of the theatre documentation. I believe it is more illustrative. So now we are in a part which will take 5, maybe 8 minutes, which may not be very interesting for people who are not deeply focused on documenting of theatre. So if any of you needs a coffee, this is the right moment. So the virtual study is the most important output of all of our documentation work. It is a comprehensive interface for accessing all of the information that facilitate research, increase the information value of the database material through the joint and interconnecting publishing. To provide access to materials that would otherwise be inaccessible or accessible only to a limited extent, such as negatives or slides. And last but not least, to protect the original materials, which would suffer from regular use. The base, the central point of this net, is the entry about the theatre production. You can find there the theatre the date of the premiere, the signature of paper materials to this production, and the genre. This central entry is linked with other information from subbases. People. We can add people in some role as author of text or music, conductor, stage designer, choreographer, light designer, translator, and so on. We have a special list of theater professions which consists of more than 200 items. The performing people, the actors, performers, singers, dancers are connected together with the name of the character in the performance. This tool also follow the alternations. I mean, this cases when one character is played by more actors or singers, which is used mostly in opera, but not only. The theater ensembles and stages, of course, the theater company, the ensemble, and the place of performance are connected. In the theater subbase, we can, for example, due to evidence of changing the names of theater into history and to connect the stages to the theater institutions and so on. The other special subbases allows us to follow the development of the script, which is staged in the particular theater for the particular production. We know about the original, about the translation, about the dramatization, and about the dramaturgist adaptation. We have also other online databases which communicate to the main database and use its data and relations as metadatabases. We use these databases for archiving of pictorial materials, digitals or digital-born photos, stage design, or some graphic materials. The photography database is designed in a way which enables us to use all the metadata about the content, the name of performance, authors, all the stage, theme, date of premiere, etc. And in the virtual study, the photos are connected directly to the production. And it is also it also offers the special tool for describing the performance and character in the photo. Of course, the author, the photographer, and the signature, which can help us to find the original paper original of the photo. The very similar principles are used in the stage design database. This database is separated into two parts. One is used for stage design documentation, which it means the digitized materials which is not in our ownership. The second is also for evidence of our museum collection, and all the information required by law are inputted there. We also have a big collections of video recordings, which came from different sources, partly recorded from TV, partly gifts from theater, and partly from our own production. This collection is strictly protected by copyright, and it is used just for individual projection just in our study rooms, respectively inside the ATE building. The other databases are dedicated to library collection and the theater bibliography, as I already mentioned. It is specialized software for libraries, so it was not compatible with software developed directly for the theater documentation. But again, we were able to interconnect both databases using ID codes of production entries and using the codes from National Authority Base, which is provided by National Library. This authority base is very important provider over the personal data, and last year it was also connected to the Wikidata, so its importance rises. So there were some details about the structure which we use for documentation of theater production. Originally, I wanted to show you more from the virtual study live, but it is more suitable for workshops than for this kind of online format of presentation. So I will skip this part and I will just mention some basic statistics. We have 14,000 video recordings, almost 50,000 productions, 52,000 stage design, more than 400,000 photographs, 12,000 theater events, and 61,000 persons in our database. The last module added to the virtual study is the oral history. We started using this method for capturing the memories of people who work in the theater field and who can offer a personal experience from history, personal view to historical events. Using these personal stories to historical research is an important complement to the official history research from archives and other official sources. It brings a kind of human measure to historical work. Of course, the information acquired by this way has to be checked twice and interpreted or commented on, but it is also the great benefit for documentation. The oral history interviews are usually from 4 to 10 hours long and are not available online, but we publish the written minutes of each interview, which can be used by the user for the first quick orientation. Now, I would like to say something about the accessibility of digitized materials. Our credo is that we, as a public institution, have to provide all the information and materials which we have in as the most open way as possible. The only limitation for us is the author law licensing and protection of the personal data. The information which is collected by our staff, content of database, is published under the Creative Commons as open data. It means anybody else can use this content for their projects or applications. We do not publish the personal data in this way, such as date of birth or so on, but the information about professional activities of artists and theaters. For the photography, we did a mailing campaign and asked all the photographers to sign the simple agreement that we can use their photos and show them in the virtual study. This step is mutually beneficial because we do a good quality backup for these photos, and the potential end users, as writers, researchers, journalists, TV producers, can find the photo on the internet, and we can provide them with the contact to the photographers. So the database also helps to spread their work. In the case of stage design, the practice is very same, but I have to say that designers are not as open as photographers. So let's say that just 50% of stage designers agreed with online presentation. Never mind. The internet user got an information that the particular design exists and that is available in the building. We do not publish the digitized press cuttings and other originally printed materials online because the licensing is unclear in this case. So all of them, it is about 700,000 items, are available just in-house. The exceptions are, of course, the online sources that are accessible for free. They are linked directly from the bibliography database. And as I said before, the video recordings are strictly limited just for in-house individual projection. So I think I can stop with explanation of the virtual study here. All your questions to this topic are welcomed after the presentation or later via email. Now I would like to mention in short our other online projects, some of which are not the real part or integral part of the virtual study now, but which are inseparable parts of our work and the data environment. The first is the multilingual database of theater architecture, which was built in the frame of the international projects called Theater Architecture in Central Europe, which were run between 2008 and 2011. The success is that we are still able to keep the database in operation, and there are another projects that use its structure and tools. We rename it from the Central European to the European theater architecture, but as you can see, there are theaters from all over the world. The advantage is a multilingual platform. The database can be easily translated into other languages and started to be used immediately. There are several possibilities how to display the data, and there are two levels of what the entry can look like. The complete entry, this one for example, means that detailed description of the historical development of the building, mostly written by art historians. The short entry means that just the basic information about the theater can be used. For example, for education, may be useful the timeline view, which can give an overview of the development of the theatrical space. The data from the database are already shared in Wikidata. The second project is Czech Theatre Encyclopedia, but I will skip it because we are, I think, lack of time, and it is only in Czech. Several times I mentioned terms as open data or Wikidata. I don't know how familiar are you with this way of sharing data, but it's something that we have been focused on in last years. The open data allows anybody to use your data for his or her application in the same way how, for example, the meteorological data or public transport timetable are used in, for example, mobile applications, but it needs some programmer skills. From my point of view, the Wikidata is the best way to offer your data and also get data from other sources for your use. Another advantage is that there is a huge group of experienced people around, and the wiki projects who are able to give you the professional help as a volunteers. Here is the definition of Wikidata, and again I will skip the Wikidata because it's something which is very important from my point of view, but all of you can see it by yourself. So the theater documentation in the Arts and Theater Institute is done in the most widespread way. Our will is to cover all the activities in the professional theaters in the Czech Republic. We don't do any selections. We do not evaluate artistic quality of performance on the documentation level. Our main task is to collect, to describe, to classify, to save, and to make accessible as much information and object as possible. We are building the memory of the Czech theater, and our goal is to keep it for the future. But of course, there could be a different attitude to the documentation. The experts in the theater department of the National Museum started a few years ago with the complete documentation of process of developing on the theater production. This experiment was done as a part of a project called Documentation of the Present. They choose two productions each year, one from the big classical theater and one from the experimental independent theater, and followed the whole process of preparation from the first rehearsal to the premiere. They document the work during the rehearsals on video. They do written reports from each rehearsal. They take pictures. They do interviews. So compared to our practice, they strictly focus just for a very small part of contemporary theatrical culture, but their way is really detailed and they produce a lot of materials. I think that this way of documentation can be interesting, for example, for research of directors' methods or some specific working process, but it always has to be researched in the context of a contemporary situation, which we can provide here in our documentation. And now the last information, which is very interesting, I hope. Before I'm finishing with my presentation, I would like to share with you the fresh information about a new portal which was launched just a month ago. It is called Dramox, and its creators define it in short as a theatrical Netflix. They built it as a creative business model supported by the private internet company. They can solve all the licensing for making recordings of theater performances available online. They now cooperated with more than 60 theaters from the Czech Republic and Slovakia, mostly very famous and popular, and they are planning to extend to other countries and theaters. They are prepared to add English subtitles for the recordings, and they have many other plans for the future. They use existing recordings, and they will also record performances in theaters by themselves. And what is most important for now, they are paying 55% of incomes back to the theaters. It cannot replace the experience of personal presence in performance, of course, but it also has a lot of advantages, especially when the performance are recorded in a high technical, same as dramaturgical quality. And its importance for the documentation is also non-negligible. So just short closure. Uh, that was a very, very quick introduction of the Arts and Theatre Institute, our work, our attitude to the theatre documentation. I also tried to indicate or to estimate some of the possible ways of future development of theatre documentation, mainly using the Wikidata. There are many other possibilities as for using the technologies as a three-dimensional recording, virtual reality recording, or modeling, and probably many others. But for today, I choose the Wikidata, which I believe will play a very important role in the people's knowledge in the future. And in comparison with the mentioned technologies, it is for free. So, and if I have one more minute, Bernice.
Yes, please.
Yes, thank you. At this moment, I am sitting in the office situated in the loft of the historical building in the center of Prague. I can communicate with you in a good quality. I hope the quality was good. Thanks to cheap and reachable technologies. Several years ago, it would sound like sci-fi. In the process of the theater documentation, we are using the same or very similar technologies. We can work with them, we can create the new ways of their usage. We could do perfect documentation of theater production, we can do perfect recordings, but all the time we must know that the base for our work is a live theater. Live performance in the theater building or anywhere else. The performance with the presence of audience, not the theater in the virtual space. So I wish to all of us to meet safely in theaters soon. Thank
Thank
you.
you so much, Ondřej. Very impressive. And also, I encourage the audience to visit their virtual studies and also the other online platforms after this seminar, because you are going to learn more about Czech theater, not only the historical aspects of Czech theater, but you also know for the ATI, they really work very hard to respond to such a difficult moment of the contemporary theater. And I was so impressive also, you are having a series of talk on how to show performing arts online, which is a very practical series for the practitioners to keep their records for their shows. And of course, it's very important, not just for the ATI as a theater institute to contribute in doing performing arts documentation. I think for the ATI, they are also working as a mediator and also a promoter to let the other theater practitioners to work together with them to document the Czech theater history. And that's why I'm saying that I'm very impressed about what ATI has been doing. And as you know, we are not having much time left, but still we have a Q&A session. So I welcome you all to post your comments or questions in the Q&A box. So Ondřej is going to answer some of the questions. And of course, I think for our Hong Kong or for the other audience may be interested about the funding or the resources of the ATI, because in Hong Kong, I think in particular I can share about the case in Hong Kong. We have a lot of arts organization and we also have arts council, but we don't have arts institute. And as far as I know, last time when I visited ATI, you have around 60 to 70 full-time staff in the ATI working for performing arts documentation. And I think most of the fundings are from the government. And my question is, are you going for the ATI, as because you are deputy director and you must need to think about how to explore more resources, I mean in terms of finance, to find alternative funding resources. Will you be able to share with us about more on this aspect in particular?
I think this is a very for some concrete activities. The first is the research. There is a special program for researcher or for the research. How to say it? If we prepare the plan for research for next 5 years, we can ask for quite good money, which are provided by state, but in a different way, not directly. It's a kind of competition, and of course we are using a possibility to ask for grants from Europe, which is very important source of grant money. It's a lot of bureaucracy, of course, and it is focused mainly for the international cooperation projects. And these sources are used mainly by Prague Quadrennial because they create and lead a lot of international projects. So it helps to creating networks, let's say. But yes, we can. Yeah, we are focused mainly for many donating funds by state.
Yeah. Of course, we have also other concerns about how are you going to, I mean, the collaboration with different parties in the industry. I would be very interested to know how you work with the theater practitioners, in particular, on collecting materials from the practitioners. This is one of the area that I would be very interested about. And also you just mentioned about some collaboration in Europe. And I also know there's another or many other arts institutes in Europe working in the Theatre Institute as well. Are you having close connection with the other institutes so you can maybe able to have more resources and to collaborate for bigger project? And you just mentioned also to us about the theater architecture in Central Europe. And it's a very impressive website. And is this one of the important projects doing by a group of theater institutes to work together?
I tried to answer everything from the start. So first question was about our communication to theaters, to the theaters. Is it true? Uh, it is based on a personal level. In fact, the people from documentation have some segment of the theaters and communicate with them, and yeah, it really works on this personal level, not just organizers. We are the theaters are not forced by any law that they should give us the things, but they do it more and more, and yeah, this is some kind of habit, of a positive habit. The second question was about the cooperation in Europe. Yes, we are member of many different networks, European or the world, and for me, the most important network is called ENICPA, which means European Network of Information Centers for Performing Arts. It is not a big network, just 17 institutes. It's changing the number. And originally, we have a meetings one per year, and to uh, inform about the news in institutions, about new projects, and it is very inspirative, very inspirative. So in Europe, mostly in the ex-socialist countries, there are the same institute as we are, mostly theater institute. This is Poland and Slovakia and Hungary. And the Western world have these activities not so centralized, but all the time there is a lot of possibilities to find people. And last but not least, what I have to say, especially Prague Quadrennial also communicates with the universities, as a PQ is a really huge tool for education. There are a lot of students coming there and have workshops. So this is continuously cooperation, not just one per 4 years, but it is for in the I'm sorry, in the period in between the edition of Quadrennial.
Yes, and I'm sure everyone will know about the PQ. PQ for me is really a brand for the Czech theater, and I was there last year in the last episode of PQ, and unfortunately I can't meet Ondřej because he was working very busy on documenting the PQ. So I don't have chance to visit him last time, in last year. But I'm sure that we're looking forward to meet each other next year maybe. And
Definitely.
I think about to close this very meaningful session, I would like to have a very last questions to Ondřej, because the last time when I visit you in the very beautiful historical building of ATI, you told me that still a space is really something challenging for the development of ATI. Will you be able to share with us a little bit more about the space now? Are you going to move to a bigger office in the future?
It's if you have 1 minute, I think it is quite a local story. Not this historical building is not big enough for us, and fortunately we was able to got other historical building not far from here, which we reconstructed. It's also the state ownership. We reconstructed, and a part of our departments will move there. There will be a better depository, for example, for the collections, and there is a quiet, because now we are in a quite noisy, or it used to be noisy street at Saletna, but now it's
Quiet.
So quiet. And other building which we got in the same way from ministry is in a not good condition, but in future it will work for us as a depository, as a huge and big depository.
Yeah. And because we have, I have to say, the ATI is located in a like Tsim Sha Tsui in Hong Kong. It's a very busy area, and it's very convenient. I mean, for the visitors. So next time when you have chance to visit Prague, I encourage you to visit Ondřej and also ATI. And we also receive a lot of warm response from our participant, and they are really appreciate for Ondřej's presentation. And I'm sure that we learned a lot from your presentation.
Thank you.
To know more about the Czech theater and also the ATI. And thank you very much for we have some questions, and people from Iceland.
Yeah,
Oh,
but
okay.
I'm very surprised because I saw there in the question and answer the greetings from Iceland and from Australia. So it's
Yes,
it
yes,
normally
yes.
it normally cannot happen.
It's
And
really an international conference. I'm because we may not have chance. I see whether we can, because I just received a final questions. Um, People asking by the very initial, when the ATI firstly established, any people giving you like negative feedback, or they feel rejected of the establishment of ATI, or they are really support on doing this?
For you mean for the changing the name in
I think
2007
people
to
are
80?
more interested about the first
Um,
establishment of it.
it's maybe it's you mean first establishing in the 1959.
Yes, yes, yes. You
Aha,
know about the history of it?
I know something about the history. It's a long history, and it was in fact the power of one woman who was able to persuade the ministry that the theater institute is very important. But what I have to say that the good reason was the success of Czech stage design, of Czech scenography, because that time the Czech stage designers won main prize in the Biennale in Sao Paulo, where there is a big Biennale exhibition. And when they started to exhibit also stage design, each 2 years the Czech designers got the prize. It was Trester, it was Svoboda, it was Vychodil, and other people. So suddenly the importance of Czech stage design, Czech theater was visible, and this step led to the establishing of the Theater Institute and also Prague Quadrennial, which was originally mentioned as the cooperative event for the Sao Paulo Biennale.
Yeah. Thank you so much for Ondřej's final remarks on this. And are you going to have anything to say, Ondřej, by the end of it?
Yeah, just I would like to notice that the presentation is online. All links should work, and maybe the picture which was missing there is will be there. And if any of the audience would like to ask me for anything, just write the email.
Okay. Thank you very much, Ondřej, for your wonderful sharing and also everyone's participation. Please
It was
let us know about your feedback by filling out the questionnaire. And there will be 2 roundtable discussion and 2 innovative talks presented tomorrow. And feel free to join us tomorrow, and you'll know more information in the chat box. And also check also our official website. I'm looking forward to see you soon. And Ondřej, stay healthy and stay well. Looking forward to see you soon in Prague or in Hong Kong. And everyone, good night. See you tomorrow. Thank you so much. Thank you.
It's a big pleasure. Thank you. Bye-bye.